After spending some time with it, I thought it might be helpful to share what I have noticed so far, because this kind of bed looks simple in photos, but the day-to-day experience really comes down to the lift system, the noise level, and whether the whole thing feels stable once it is built. At its core, this is a king-size platform bed with an upholstered frame and a hydraulic lift that opens up the entire mattress platform, so you can use the space underneath for storage. If you are in an apartment, if you have a smaller closet, or if you just hate having extra bins out in the open, this bed is aimed at that exact problem. It is also for anyone who wants a soft headboard to lean against without needing a box spring. What makes it different for me is that it is not just a basic frame with a fabric wrap. The main feature is the lift-up storage, and the way they handle the slats and the frame connection seems designed to cut down on the tiny movements that turn into squeaks over time. That is the part I always watch closely with storage beds, because the lift mechanism adds stress in places a normal bed frame does not. In person, the look is pretty clean. The headboard has a wingback shape that is noticeable but not dramatic, and it has channel tufting that gives it a neat, modern pattern without looking busy. The upholstery in light beige reads warm in most indoor lighting, but when I had brighter daylight coming in, it shifted a little cooler and slightly gray. I actually prefer that because it does not fight with other colors in the room. It works with light wood, darker wood, black metal, white walls, and it does not dominate the space. The profile sits lower than a lot of traditional beds, and that changes how the room feels. It makes a bedroom look a bit more open, especially if you are working with a smaller layout. It still has a tall enough headboard that it feels like a real piece of furniture, and not just a metal frame with a mattress on it. Build quality is a mix of upholstered panels and a steel structure underneath. What I pay attention to is how it feels when I push on the side rails, when I sit on the edge, and when I shift my weight around at night. Once it is tightened down, it feels planted. The slats are wood, and they sit in place with plastic holders, so they do not just float on a rail. That helps keep the slats aligned and reduces rubbing noises. I have slept on frames where the slats slowly drift. Then you get that little click or creak when you roll over. This one has been quieter for me so far. Setup is not hard, but it is not quick. I would not do this alone if I can avoid it, mainly because of the size and the lift mechanism. The instructions are mostly pictures, and that means you have to slow down and match the orientation of the brackets before you commit. I took my time, left bolts slightly loose until the frame was square, then tightened everything down at the end. That one habit makes a big difference in whether the bed ends up level and quiet. The box is heavy, and it is big enough that I would build it in the room where it will live. Moving a king-size storage bed after it is assembled is not something I would want to do more than once. When it came time to install the hydraulic arms, having a second person made it less frustrating, because you are holding weight and aligning parts at the same time. The lift system is the part I was most curious about. On a lot of budget storage beds, the lift either feels weak and sketchy, or it feels jerky and loud. Here, the pistons felt stiff right out of the box. That worried me for about a minute, then it felt familiar, because better gas struts often need a firm first movement to get going smoothly. After I gave it that initial strong pull and push on both sides, it started moving in a more controlled way. In daily use, I open it from the foot of the bed. The platform rises and stays up on its own, and I can use both hands to move things in and out without worrying that it will drop. When I close it, it comes down without slamming as long as I guide it and do not just let go. The motion reminds me of a car hatch. It has resistance, it feels predictable, and it does not feel like it is trying to snap shut. One small detail I appreciated is that there is a stop near the head area that helps keep the mattress from creeping backward when you lift and lower the platform. That sounds minor, but with lift beds, the mattress sliding can turn into a constant annoyance, especially if you are using a smoother cover fabric. The storage space underneath is one open area, not split into compartments. For me, that is good for larger things like luggage, off-season blankets, extra pillows, and bigger storage bins. If you're trying to store a bunch of smaller items, it can turn into a mess, so I would use fabric bins or baskets you can pull out easily. The clearance under there is actually useful. I can fit bulkier items that would not work in a shallow under bed drawer. Since this is a platform bed, you do not need a box spring. The slats are close enough together that I would feel fine using memory foam or a hybrid mattress. The support feels even, and it does not have that springy bounce you get from some metal grid frames. For sleeping, it has felt stable when I sit on the edge and when I shift positions at night. I am sensitive to squeaks, so I purposely tested that by rolling side to side, sitting down a little heavier than normal and pushing against the headboard while reading. So far, it has stayed quiet. I also pay attention to the headboard when I actually use it. The upholstery is comfortable enough to sit up against without needing extra pillows, and the wingback sides help keep my pillows from sliding off the edges as easily. The channel tufting is not puffy, so it stays looking tidy. Like any upholstered bed, it will collect dust. I had to vacuum it lightly around the seams, especially near the base where lint likes to gather. One real limitation you should think about is mattress weight versus the lift assist. With lift beds, the lift rating is not the same thing as how much weight the bed can hold while you sleep. It is about what the pistons can help raise. If you have a very heavy mattress, like a dense latex mattress, you may find the lift harder to open, or you may be pushing the mechanism more than you want long term. With a more typical mattress, the lift feels manageable. In my case, with a standard king mattress in a normal thickness range, it has been a two-hand lift that feels controlled, not a struggle. If you are not sure, I would actually weigh your mattress or check the manufacturer weight before you assume it will be fine. Another practical thing is that you will probably want to retighten hardware after a week or two. That is not unique to this bed. It is just how furniture like this settles after a few nights of movement. When I did a quick check, I found a couple bolts that wanted a small turn tighter, and that kind of maintenance helps keep things quiet. As for smart features and mobile app support, there is none here. There is nothing to pair, nothing to update, and nothing to troubleshoot. For a bed frame, I see that as a plus. The only thing you manage is the lift and the hardware, and once it is built correctly, it mostly disappears into the background, which is what I want from a bed. Living with it has been straightforward. I lift it up when I am swapping bedding, storing extra linens, or putting away something bulky that I do not want in the closet. I close it, and the room looks clean again. It does what it is supposed to do, and it does not demand attention. Overall, my impression is that this bed makes sense for someone who wants storage without adding another piece of furniture, and who is okay spending a few hours on assembly. The frame feels stable, the lift feels controlled after that initial break-in, and it has stayed quiet in my normal use so far. The main things I would watch are taking your time during assembly, building it in the room where it will stay, and making sure your mattress is not so heavy that the lift becomes annoying. If you have questions about how it is held up over time, or you want to share your experience with a different mattress type on a lift storage bed like this, leave a comment. Subscribe to the channel for more reviews. Thank you for watching.